So my name is Timothy Washira, and I'll be taking you through the IAM service. IAM basically stands for Identity and Access Management. And I'm making this application in regards to the AWS Cloud Hub for Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, JKUAT. So you may wonder, what is IAM exactly? IAM stands for Identity and Access Management. Its basic function is to manage authentication and authorization in the cloud. Well, think of IAM as the bouncer in front of the entrances to a concert. The bouncer is basically responsible for checking people's tickets and guiding them to their respective allocated seats. Well, if you pay for a VIP ticket, the bouncer will allow you to proceed to the VIP section, where you will enjoy premium entertainment. If you pay for a regular ticket, no way you're accessing the VIP section. If you have no ticket, well, good luck entering the concert area. IAM basically works in the same way. IAM is secure by default, hence users can't access resources until they're explicitly granted. Now, so that you can have access to, or you can use IAM in your account, you need to ensure that the root user has locked away or has stored separately their root user credentials. Why is this important? Because if, for example, or by any chance that the root user loses their credentials or they are hacked, or maybe somehow someone has access to them, it basically means that that individual, they may have malicious intent, they may access the platform, the AWS console, and manipulate your services, manipulate your resources, accumulate bills, and basically cause a lot of damage. So for you to be able to access IAM, or for you to use IAM effectively, the root user needs to create or submit control to IAM admin users, who can then create user groups, policies, and so on, which we'll cover later on in the session. So as I was talking about, there are four ways of granting, or there are different ways you can grant permission using IAM. The first one is an IAM user, who is a unique application or individual defined in an account who must make API calls to access services in AWS. The next one is an IAM group, which is a collection of IAM users. This is used to grant same access to multiple users, often related within a certain job. For example, developers in a company, and so on. So an IAM policy is a document specifying permissions, determining what users can do and cannot do in the AWS account. We'll talk about this more in depth later on in the session. And finally is the IAM role, which provides temporary security credentials and is assumable by a person, application, or service. So using the concert analogy, you can think of an IAM user as the people who go to a concert. For them to be able to access the concert grounds, they must be able to have some form of credentials. They must be able to arrive at the concert and present themselves as, people who should actually be there based on the tickets that they have. The IAM group can be, let's say, a collection of VIP users. So this is used to grant same access to multiple users. So VIP users or VIP individuals who paid for the VIP ticket can access the VIP section just because they are granted access to that particular section based on their IAM group. That's how we can relate this using the analogy. On to the principle of least privilege. So a user or entity should only have access to the specific data, resources, and applications needed to complete a required task. For example, if a developer in a company is responsible for creating, let's say, a Lambda function which has several maybe purposes, that individual has no use in being given access into, let's say, creating IAM roles, IAM groups. That is way out of what he or she should access. Basically, what I'm saying is an individual should only be given should only be given the kind of access that is required for them to complete the individual tasks. And finally, defining IAM policies. Well, IAM policies are defined in JSON format, JavaScript object notation. So to specify a policy document, 4 things must be present: the effect, the action of the policy, the resources in question, whether S3, buckets, whether AC2 instances, and so on, the conditions to be met for the rule to apply, such as a username. For example, a policy may check for maybe granting access to a certain username called Timothy. So if the condition called Timothy, which is the username, is not met, then the IAM policy will not work for that particular IAM user because the condition is absent. Well, of course, other elements may be included, not just these 4. And finally, we can do a recap. So we've talked about root accounts and IAM users and why they are important. Finally, also we have talked about granting permissions in IAM. We've talked about the JSON document and its format. We've talked about the principle of least privilege and why it is important. And finally, we've talked about defining IAM policies. Next up, in the next lesson, we're going to talk about organizations and multiple account management. IAM use cases, we can give examples of companies, attributes and role-based access control, AWS organizations, and Amazon Cognito, which are services used hand in hand with IAM, and security control policies. The next AWS Cloud Club meeting will be on 1st March 2024. So thank you and looking forward to meeting you next time. Thank you.